Greetings, this is Horus of Egypt. Many might know me from your historical tomes and the architecture, some of it that remains in Egypt. Although this has been many, many years ago, I have now returned energetically to your earth plane to assist with the ascension of your earth plane and all of its inhabitants. I am here with my beloved Hathor, who will speak to you in a little while. I would first like to address you from my perspective so that you understand what my mission is at this time as it relates to my previous incarnation on your earth plane in the area of Egypt. During my previous incarnation, I was what you might term royalty, as I was born within the ruling family of Egypt at the time. I did not personally rule, so to speak, but I was involved in the day-to-day workings of a ruling court. My mother, Isis, ruled with a very strong hand, even though she did not appear in public, but she assisted my father, Osiris, and many others within the court just by her presence within the chambers or behind the scenes. She, however, was very instrumental in my spiritual path as she guided me through all of my difficulties. At a very early age, I knew that I was on a mission spiritually. I was a very sensitive individual growing up. I preferred to study and observe things from a distance rather than participate in discussions, perhaps, or even to play with the other children my age. My adolescent years were just that. I dedicated it to studying astrology, astronomy, mathematics, the sciences. In those days, there was something called the mystery schools, which was a lineage that my mother belonged to. And so I studied through these mystery schools, through her group of mystery school teachers. My school was my room, my chambers. And so if you can imagine a vast courtyard that opened up into the outer areas that overlooked the city or the place that we lived in, my chambers had many rooms, and one large room that housed all of my books and my study material was the closest that overlooked the balcony with open skies beyond. This gave my energy, my learning energy, the freedom to look out into the skies and to contemplate my lessons. So it was in these chambers that my teachers came to me through my mother's lineage of mystery school teachings, and they taught me about alchemy, about the sciences, and about the finer energies of sacred geometry, of frequency, and of vibration. I also learned anatomy, biology, physics, and how all of these sciences wove themselves into the sciences of astrology, astronomy, and the finer energies of frequency and vibration. As I grew older, I was exposed to the areas within our community. I started to venture out into the forested areas surrounding the palace and found peace within these areas. While my friends were out hunting, I just found peace walking within the woods, connecting with nature, being fascinated by all the beings around me. I did not align with the energy of killing other living beings, and so I distanced myself from these activities. I then, with the help of some of my aides within the palace, created an enclosure for myself within this forested area as my own little getaway, if you will. I would often come to this place to contemplate and to think about my lessons. It is here that I had a very powerful interaction with beings that were interdimensional. You might call these energies elemental beings, or fairies, or the Fae Kingdom. I encountered a group of these beings as they were foraging through the forests. You see, they are minute creatures, but they have a fully functioning anatomy, just like a human, except they could fly, and they could transport themselves between dimensions, between the third, fourth, and fifth dimension. At that time, the earth plane was vibrating at a very high level. It was within the fifth dimension. And so these beings were within the fourth, the higher fourth, and the fifth dimension. And so while I was walking through the forest, they came into my dimension and followed me down the path. I immediately sensed something within my energy field, alerted as if you might be alerted if you felt like an animal was following you. You might refer to this as a sixth sense. I turned around and looked behind to see what it might be. I stopped. My heart was racing, out of fear, thinking that I might be attacked at any time by some animal that was out to harm me. I had a weapon on me, a sword, and so I drew my sword, ready to defend myself. I watched and waited, but nothing appeared. I still felt eyes watching me, but I did not know where they were coming from, so I stood very still and just allowed my eyes to move. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a very, very slight movement. I brought my attention and focus to this area, and there it was, the tiniest of a human female figure, sitting on top of a boulder or a rock, looking at me. She was unafraid. She was about perhaps 5 to 10 feet away from me, but there was a glow about her, and this is perhaps what drew my attention. It would perhaps liken to what you might call a firefly as it illuminates in the night. I did not want to scare her away, and so I shifted my body so that I faced her completely. I then saw that her companions, or the guides that protected her, surrounded her. I could make out 5 of these beings, all male, as they protectively surrounded her. I threw my sword down and put my hands up defenselessly, letting them know that I was not there to harm them. They seemed to understand this gesture, and so I tentatively took a step forward to see more closely the features and the energies of these beings. They were unafraid, and they allowed me to come closer, and so I did. As I got to about a foot away from them, she put her hand out as if to arrest my progress, and so I stopped. I then knelt down on the ground so that I was at eye level with these creatures. I watched in fascination and absorbed their energies, their features, their individual tiny little faces. They were exquisite. The female was quite beautiful. She had light blue shimmering wings, which had a mixture of silver, and her eyelashes were silverish gold. She had long golden black hair and a white long flowing cloak. Her entourage were mostly dressed in black, and they had long cloaks, and they had tiny little bows and arrows. I felt like I needed to laugh, but I did not. It was really quite impressive. I wondered if I was dreaming, but I looked beside me and saw my sword and touched it and felt its metallic coldness against my skin. So I knew that this was real and it was happening. I suddenly felt thoughts come into my mind, but they were not my thoughts. They were communicating with me. How fascinating. I understood them telepathically. They were greeting me and asking me what it was I was doing on their path. Again, I felt like I should laugh, but I did not, for it was my path just as much it was possibly their path. I had not known it was their path. However, I told them that I was on my way to my hut in the forest. They then asked me if I came this way often, and I told them yes. I then asked them about their lives and their livelihood, and they told me that this was the place they came to collect food and other supplies. And by saying this, one of the beings from her entourage showed me a basket within which they had collected fruits and tiny nuts. This too was very impressive, as he then strapped it onto his little back, and it seemed to be a heavy load. I asked them where it was they lived, but they felt they did not want to disclose this to me for safety, and I understood. I asked them if we could meet again, and she very shyly said yes. So I told her that I would return to this place often and hoped that we could meet again, and within a blink of an eye they had all disappeared. I sat on the ground beside my sword in the middle of the path for a very long time after this encounter, pondering all that had just taken place. It was very surreal. I then gathered myself and went back to the palace instead of heading to my hut out in the woods. I had to speak to my mother, as she would perhaps be able to enlighten me on what had just occurred. So I rushed back and asked her to meet me in my chambers. After I had freshened up, I came into my study and she was there, and I narrated my experience to her. Throughout my entire narration, her wise, deep blue eyes watched me. She did not speak until I had finished, and then she came forward and lovingly hugged me and told me that this was a remarkable interdimensional experience. She then went on to tell me about these beings and about her awareness of these beings. I was truly fascinated. This was the beginning of my interactions with these interdimensional energies. I returned to this place quite often after this instance, and I met these beings, and we talked for hours and hours, and they told me about their lives and I told them about mine. I shared apples and fruits and other little trinkets that I knew that they would appreciate. They would not disclose their location to me, and I again understood this. I was pleased for this interaction, and it was my divine secret, and it was so precious to my heart. Each of these encounters left an impression on me, and I discussed this at length with my mystery school teachers, and through my meditations, I somehow felt closer to these beings. I hope that you have enjoyed listening to this experience that I had. I thought it might help you understand that it is possible to have an interdimensional relationship within the physical body upon the earth plane. Things are shifting within your environment, even though your earth plane has been degraded from a fifth dimension to a third dimensional being, and we will perhaps go into this in more detail in another communication. However, I feel that you are aware of this fact. And so your perception, if you will, is perhaps more difficult than what my perception would have been as it related to interdimensional connection or contact. The veils of time were quite thin at that time. Now you are in a place where those veils are quite dense as a result of your earth plane being invaded by darker forces. However, with your earth plane moving into the photon belt, some of that denseness has been removed, and you are once again within the veils, if you will, of the fifth dimensional vibration. And so the potential for you to have interdimensional contact is that much more available and possible. So it is my mission to not only help you become familiar with interdimensional connection and contact with beings such as myself, but also with the Fae, who have unfortunately, for the most part, vanished from your earth plane because they could not live within that dense environment any longer. So some of them, some brave ones, are making their way back and hoping to connect with beings that are sensitive to receive them. So I encourage you to meditate and align your energies with these beings so that they may step through the veil of time and space and connect with you as they did with me all those years ago. I will step back now and allow for my beloved to speak to you. Blessings. Greetings. I am Hathor. I come to you at this time in the hope that my connection with you will expand your vision and allow you to see things from a very cellular perspective. My background and my purpose is my work with DNA, and so my study has been of the very minute physicality within the human anatomy. It has been a fascinating study for me, which began with my lifetime or incarnation upon your earth plane many hundreds of your years ago. I was a child that was born, blessed to be within an environment that allowed me the riches and comforts, where I did not have to worry about food, shelter, or water, or any creature comforts as you might call it. This allowed me the freedom to expand my mind and my knowledge, and so my parents allowed me to study within the mystery schools of Isis. It is through these mystery schools that I expanded my knowledge and understanding of frequency, vibration, and mastered the study of anatomy and began to specialize in studying cellular memory and cellular sciences and how they interacted with the energetic world or the energetic frequencies. It was through this study that I mastered the connection with the higher realms through this energetic study, and I found the connection between my own DNA and the DNA of my higher self, my oversoul, and how those energies connected with all of my parallel lifetimes. I was able to, over my lifetime, align all of my past lives to that lifetime that I had lived in Egypt. so that all of my parallel past lives assimilated into one being as it aligned with my higher self and my oversoul energy to become a trinity as it connected to the energy of the Creator. Through this expansive study and alignment, I was considered as a master student within the lineage of the mystery schools within which I studied. I also studied vocalization and intonation, and so mastered the frequency of my voice and how that connected with my energies of the higher self and my oversoul. This frequency vibration was of a very pure sound. As I learned, it cleared away any and all denseness that perhaps would come into my field, and so this was another field of study, if you will, that I mastered. So my interaction with you today is to bring you these gifts, to allow you to open up your energy field so that you are aligning your DNA to its highest perspective with your individual higher self and your oversoul. You are on a fast track, if you will, on your ascension journey as Gaia traverses along the photon belt within this window of time, which I believe is marked on your calendars up to the year 2060. So for us, it is just a blink of an eye, but for you, it is a few decades. However, it gives you the opportunity to practice and to align yourself with these energies as you embark on this golden age of Aquarius. You are at the threshold of this age where all beings upon the earth plane are within the process of ascension. Whether you are aware of it or not, it is happening. So it would be highly beneficial for your soul's journey if you went through this process in a conscious way while in the physical body. So myself and many others have come to assist you on your journey. There are beings on the earth plane, much like the being that is assisting me today with this message, that have been initiated by me as a helper within the physical to assist on this mission in transmitting these messages to you. And so I ask you to imagine that these messages are coming to you directly from me, and this being is a bridge between our two realities. It is a sacred mission, and it is a mission of love as it aligns with the Creator. And so, this being my preliminary communication, it is just an introduction to you of what my areas of specialty, if you will, are. I hope to be back here within this forum to continue my discourses with you, and hope that you will join me and my beloved Horus as we together work with you to align your energies to your higher self and with your oversoul, working through all of your difficulties and hardships that you have faced living within the denseness of the planet that you are currently living on, and having to navigate through the energies being thrown at you. It is a very mixed bag of energies right now. There are third dimensional, fourth dimensional, both higher and lower fourth dimensional and fifth dimensional energies coming at you. So it is hard for your physical body to work through all of this while living your lives. Many of you are not aware of these energies, and so you face things that are happening to your life, perhaps losing your job or breaking up of a relationship or finding hardships within your home or family. But you don't know the real reason why these things are happening. So it is my hope that with our connection, you can navigate these energies better with the understanding and the knowing of what is truly taking place. I will leave you now to contemplate these words and hope to be back here with you quite quickly. Blessings.